I think there's something in my house, and I'm not just saying it. My name is Lucy Barbera, and I live in the outskirts of Ohio. I was married to a man named Daniel 2 years back. He used to be a worker in my father's factory. My father grew fond of him and arranged my marriage with him. I never had much say when it came to my life. My father was a strict man, and after my mother's death in my early childhood, he raised me with all he had. I'm not saying he didn't love me, but he did show too much authority over me. He thought whatever he thinks he decides will be best for me. Not having enough self-esteem, I could never stand up to him. When I turned 18 and finally thought of doing so, he got diagnosed with cancer. His last wish was to see me settled by marrying this man, Daniel. Daniel was a bit older than me, but he was a hard worker and had some family wealth. He too was an orphan, so my father immediately took him under his wing. My father died a week after our marriage. Daniel wasn't a talker, and he was way more reserved than I anticipated at first. But the thing I respected about him was he never forced me into anything as my father did. After getting married, I moved in here to live with him. He took over my father's business and managed it. Despite being married, we kept our distance. Everything was going okay until last Thursday, when my husband died. Yes, Daniel's dead. In his last few months, Daniel worked late night in his study downstairs. He said he was working on a new business strategy. I knew how extremely serious he was about work, so I never bothered him. But it was 3:10 in the morning when I sprung up, hearing a loud bang. Ran downstairs, and as I opened the study room door, I saw a vicious sight. Blood was splattered all over the table and wall. Daniel was sitting on his armchair, and his face was gone, along with part of his brain. A handgun was loosely hanging from his left hand. The cops were called, and the incident was ruled as a suicide. Everyone told me to move out of the house, but I knew I couldn't. On the first night of being alone in this house, I started to experience some weird things. I was cooking in the kitchen when I heard knocks on my door. It was 7:30 in the evening, and I wasn't expecting anyone. I walked to the main door and looked through the peephole. There was no one outside. I stared for a while, but saw no one. The empty street stood still. I turned back to walk away when I heard the knocks again. Thinking some neighborhood kid was pulling a prank, I opened the door and again saw no one. I waited on my porch to notice some suspicious activity, but nothing happened. I locked the door and returned to the kitchen. After dinner, I came to our bedroom, which was my bedroom now. Sleeping on the same bed that I shared with Daniel felt very unsettling to me, but I was really tired. I wanted to cry like every normal wife, but not having any real connection with my husband made crying impossible for me. Can't fake tears. Laid down on the bed, and after struggling for half an hour, fell asleep. The house gets too quiet at night. The loudest sound one can hear is the ticking of the clock. I don't remember how long I slept, but suddenly I started to feel chilly. The blanket was below my waist. Pulled it up to my neck. In that drowsy state, I rolled to the other side, and someone breathed on my face. It happened so quickly that I just moved my head away without opening my eyes, but within a fraction of a second, I realized, there's no one else in this house. I am alone. I woke up with goosebumps. Drops of sweat appeared on my forehead, and I took a good look around the room. The moonlight from the window illuminated my view. Realizing I must have scared myself in my sleep, I reached for the glass of water I keep on my nightstand. I must have taken one small sip when I heard footsteps downstairs. My eyes went to the clock, and that's when my stomach dropped in fear. It was 3:10 in the morning. I knew very well that all the doors and windows were locked, so there was no chance someone would enter this house without breaking in. I slowly got up from the bed and went downstairs. The study door was closed. With trembling hands, I opened the door. The flashback of that night was going through my head, but this time the study looked completely normal. I stepped in when the light bulb of the room exploded, and the study door closed hard behind my back. Feeling horrified, I screamed at the top of my lungs when a black shadow figure appeared in the dark corner of the room. The shadow looked human, but only had eyes. The rest of its body was just pitch black. The pair of bloodshot eyes stared right at me and said in a broken voice, I am sorry. Daniel, is that you? But the voice didn't answer my question, and the light came back immediately. I remembered the light bulb breaking into pieces a few moments back. How was it shining again like nothing happened? Gradually, eerie things started to happen around the house after that day. An invisible presence walked the house 24/7, and I could feel it watching me. One day, I was ironing some old clothes of Daniel's when a pair of cold hands grabbed my shoulder from behind. I almost flinched and screamed in fear. Who is it? Daniel. Are you here? No reply came for a few seconds, but then a loud thud came from the study. Went to the study, grabbing a flashlight this time. As I picked it up, I saw it wasn't a book, rather a diary. As I read the diary, the hair at the back of my neck stood up. It was Daniel's diary. He wrote disturbing things in it. Today, I met Mr. Barber's daughter, Lucy. The old fool has decided to marry her with me. I didn't plan for this, but now I had no other choice. To inherit his property, I must marry Lucy, but I have already made my second plan. The only obstacle between me and the property is Lucy. I will wait a couple of years, and then drop my next and final move. I will make her death look like an accident, but how can she die? How can I make it happen without getting caught? And then, for the next few pages, Daniel had scribbled ideas through which he could make my death appear as an accident. Some of these included slipping down the stairs, catching fire while cooking in the kitchen, etc. My skin crawled, thinking I slept next to a man for 2 years who was looking for a window of opportunity to kill me and inherit my father's property. I was reading the diary with a panicked face when a gush of wind touched my hair. What the? Turned around, and the shadow was back, but this time, the light in the study didn't go out. The shadow with bloodshot eyes kept staring at me like before. I said in a fumbling voice, Daniel, you're supposed to be dead. For the first time, the shadow replied to me. What it said still rings in my ears like an ominous tune. It said, I'm not Daniel. I dropped the diary on the floor and started to run for the main door. The invisible spirit that I mistook for my dead husband was not him, and this was enough for me to leave that house right that moment. I was a few inches away from the main door when 2 firm hands grabbed my feet and started to pull me back to the study. Screamed and tried to kick, but I was just screaming at the air. There was nothing, but I was being pulled away by these evil hands. Suddenly, I was thrown inside the study, and then I heard a very familiar voice. I am sorry, Lucy. I should have never married you with Daniel. Father. Oh my God. The black swirl of wind started to roll in the middle of the study room and slowly took the form of my father. He stood there with a pale, dead face and uttered for the last and final time, I'm sorry, forgive me. He disappeared into the air. I'm still living in the same house, and I feel like whatever was stuck here might be gone now. I'm seeing this therapist who thinks my grief-stricken brain resulted in those terrifying hallucinations. I wish I could believe the same and move on with my life, but when I recall how Daniel shot himself in the head with his left hand, my stomach drops. I failed to notice it then, but later I remembered that Daniel was not a left-handed person. His dominant hand was the right one. Do you know why this little detail creeps me out? My father was left-handed. Is it possible he rose from the dead and possessed Daniel to take his life before he could take mine. Is it possible? Or am I just going mad? Alone in this house. The night had settled in over my small apartment. I was alone, freshly broken up with my girlfriend of a year, and feeling this emptiness and calm that gathers after a messy, turbulent, toxic, and abusive relationship. I should have been happy. Just last week, she threw a scissor at my face when I said that I wanted to break up, but I just wanted to forget all about her and dig my head in my uni books. I thought that the breakup was behind me. Boy, was I wrong. Just a few more pages, and I'm done for the night. The sound was almost imperceptible at first, a faint shuffle, like leaves brushing against the window. I shook my head, attributing it to the wind, and then the real nightmare began. Miss me, Brian. I spun around, my heart hammering. Jenna stood in the doorway, a twisted smile on her face, her eyes gleaming with an unsettling fervor. Jenna, how did you get in here? You underestimate me, baby. I've always had a spare key, remember? Her casual admission sent shivers down my spine. She began to advance, each step measured, deliberate. What do you want, Jenna? What do I want? I want us to have a little heart-to-heart, about respect, about loyalty. Her tone darkened with each word, a harbinger of the horror that was to unfold. She produced a familiar small bottle from her pocket. Thirsty, that's my bottle. Took it this morning, when you were in class. Then what was I drinking from? Before I could react, the room started to spin, my limbs turning traitorous in their heaviness. What did you? Sure, it's just a little something to help you relax. We wouldn't want you running off now, would we? The world faded to black, Jenna's twisted smile the last thing I saw. When I came to senses again, the situation had grown dire. I was bound to a chair, Jenna pacing before me, a symphony of madness playing in her eyes. You see, Brian, I've been thinking a lot about us, about what you did to me, and I realized something. You never really saw me, did you? Her voice was eerily calm, the eye of a storm. She picked up a cigarette and carefully lit it while staring into my eyes. Jenna, please, let's talk about this. I can help you. Help me? You're in no position to help anyone, least of all yourself. She laughed maniacally before approaching me, tracing a finger along my jawline, her touch cold and calculating. No, Brian. Tonight, you're gonna listen, really listen, to every word I say, to every scream you'll suppress. The terror of her implications dawned on me, a cold vice around my heart. First, a little game. For every lie you told me, a mark, a token of the death of our love. She revealed a small blade, the light glinting off its edge with sinister promise. My attempts to reason with her, to plead, fell on deaf ears. She pulled out a small knife. Jenna had descended into a realm of vengeance from which there was no return. Jenna, think about what you're doing. This isn't you. Oh, but it is, Brian. It's the me you never bothered to understand, the me that's been waiting for this moment. Her actions became a blur, the pain a stark, unyielding reality. She started with my toes, plucking the knife under the fingernails and shoving them deeper. Felt a pain which I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. She leaned in for a kiss before stuffing her scarf into my mouth to shroud my yells. Once she was done with 2 fingernails on my right leg, she moved to my knees and then the thighs. Each cut was precise, a testament to her twisted sense of justice. My mind raced, desperation clawing its way through the fog of fear. Jenna, you don't want to do this. Remember the good times. We had so many. Oh, look at my poor baby. You look so cute when you're crying. She picked out her cigarette and put it out against my neck as I screamed in pain again. Jenna, I'm sorry. Truly am. But this isn't the way we can fix this together. The room held its breath, the night a silent witness to our tragic tableau. Jenna's eyes, once alight with fury, now shimmered with unshed tears. A glimmer of the woman I once knew. Something inside her was getting hurt to see me like this as well. But the reprieve was fleeting, her inner demons wrestling back control. She picked out her lighter and set my beard on fire, laughing maniacally as I slowly saw the flame approaching towards my lips. By the time it started burning badly, she slapped it a bunch of times to make it stop. Boy, did I repent putting on a beard oil just an hour back. Jenna wasn't just out for revenge. She was out to obliterate the very essence of our shared past, to rewrite our history in blood and tears. You think sweet words can save you now? It's far too late for that, Brian. Her resolve hardened, each word a nail in the coffin of my hopes. Jenna, please, you don't have to do this. Think about what's at stake. What's at stake? Only everything, Brian. Don't you see? You took everything from me. My heart, my dignity. Now, it's your turn. She paused, her gaze lingering on the instruments of my torment. In her eyes, a storm raged, a battle between the remnants of the person she once was and the monster she had become. Jenna, listen to me. This isn't you. This isn't the person I fell in love with. You're better than this. A flicker of doubt crossed her face, a crack in her facade. I pressed on, my voice a lifeline thrown into the turbulent sea of her psyche. Remember our first date? The way you laughed at my stupid jokes. The way you looked under the moonlight. That's the Jenna I know. That's the Jenna I believe is still there. She hesitated, the knife in her hand trembling. I don't know what's real anymore. Her confession was a window, an opening I desperately needed. My heart raced, not just with fear now, but with a glimmer of hope. It's not too late, Jenna. You don't have to be defined by this night. Let me help you. We can get through this together. Her resolve wavered, the knife clattering to the floor as her hands found her face, muffling her sobs. It has to be done, Brian. You can never be anyone else's. I love you. I can't let you go. So, I will kill you first, then kill myself. This way, we'll be together forever. It was then, in her moment of weakness, that I found the strength to act. Using the chair, I managed to knock it over, the impact jarring enough to loosen the ropes that bound me. My hands, numb and clumsy, worked the knots. As I finally freed myself, Jenna's sobs filled the room as she stood paralyzed, crying. I picked the knife and threw it out, before picking her up and pinning her against the wall. Jenna, look at me. We're going to get through this. You need help, and I'm going to be there for you. But first, we need to end this nightmare. My words seemed to reach her, a lifeline amidst the storm. I called 911 while she sat holding her head, and they promised that she'll get a therapist. I received treatment at the hospital later, and it was then that the emotions truly gripped me. Cried that night. I cried a lot.